Another common operation that we perform on arrays is to produce a graphical representation of the data for analysis purposes. So here we have a simple bar chart example. It's not going to produce graphics. Instead, it's going to produce rows of asterisks for demonstration purposes here. C#, of course, does have graphical capabilities as well. So what we have here is an array that might represent the distribution of grades on an exam. And so we have actually an 11-element array here where the elements would represent grades from 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, etc., all the way up to a grade of 100 in this case. So what we wanted to do here was to produce a graphical representation of that data. And so I'll go ahead and run this so you can see the results. And here we've produced the formatted output with the bars of asterisks representing the bell curve, if you will, for the grade distribution on this exam. So all we did for that was to take our initial set of array values, and first we displayed the string grade distribution. Then we used a counter-controlled loop once again, and we're going to take a look at the for each repetition statement in a subsequent example. But we used a counter-controlled loop once again to iterate through all of the elements of the array. And whatever the value is for a given element is used to help us determine the label at the beginning of a given row, and then also used to help us output the appropriate number of asterisks to represent the magnitude of that value. So first we have a little if-else statement that says if the counter value is 10, to simply display 100 preceded by a couple of spaces and followed by a colon and a space. And for all other values, we have two calculations for which we produce values and display those values in a formatted manner. Counter times 10 and counter times 10 plus the value 9. So for example, if counter is 0, that would represent 0 and 9. If counter is 1, that's 10 and 19. If counter is 2, that's 20 and 29, etc. Now the formatting that we're doing here is a new feature that we haven't looked at previously. Here we're saying that we want to output a decimal number, an integral number I should say, with 2 digits of precision. And what that's going to do is force the decimal value, the whole number value, to be displayed as 2 digits, or if it's a single digit number, to be displayed with a preceding 0. So if we go ahead and run this again for a second, you can see that for 0, 0 and 0, 9, we have a leading 0 because 0 and 9 are single digit numbers. For all of the other numbers through 99, we have a 2-digit value, and then for 100, we had the custom write statement to display 100 in that case. For each row, we then output the appropriate number of stars, and we use a counter called stars for that purpose. And you can see that we keep iterating as long as the value of stars is less than the element of the array that counter corresponds to. And for every iteration of this loop, we display 1 asterisk. So in the case of this element here, we would display 4 asterisks on that bar. And then console.writeLine with no arguments simply moves to the next line of the text-based console output.